We need to review the kits for Achilles and Hector because, oh my god, they are so busted. All hail the new overlords. And a big thank you, by the way, to the makers of the game for sponsoring this video, because I'm giving my first impressions and reactions here, and wow, they look insane. Let's start with Achilles. What could be insane? How about launching 2 combo attacks against 5 nearby enemy troops, damage factor 1000? Wait. Bro, wait. And the targets lose 20% march speed for the next 3 seconds. Are we doing 10,000 damage factor? Like 2,000 per target and you hit 5 of them? Like, is that? I don't know. Like, this just seems like a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And if the target... Okay. The targets are then also inflicted with Sundered for 10 seconds, increasing the damage they receive from this skill, Pelean Spear, by 5%. This can stack up to 3 times, and its duration resets whenever it gains another stack. It does not automatically clear when exiting combat, so you can stay stacked even when you leave combat. I don't know, I mean, this feels like a lot of damage, and it feels like a pretty solid debuff. I mean, cavalry debuffing enemy march speed is powerful because calves move fast. So that's what you want to see. From there, 40% attack and 20% march speed and 10% health when outside of territory. Then the third skill, if you're on the map, take 5% less damage. All incoming skill, combo, and counterattack damage is reduced by 10%. And whenever this totals 3,000 damage factor of damage, you cast the active skill. Wow. See, this is where it pops off. What's the cooldown? Is there a cooldown on this? What's the internal cooldown? Oh my god, no internal cooldown? Okay. I mean, the way this would get busted is if you could heal him too. Oh my gosh, imagine. Bro, imagine. Anyways, staying alive while tanking the damage, like you put Shajar with an artifact as the secondary of some whatever. I'm just cooking now in a weird way. If this commander's troop is a field troop, it deals 10% more normal damage, which affects your combo damage. Whenever it uses that active skill, Pelean Spear, it gains a 10% boost to rage gained. Amazing. 10% boost to attack for 10 seconds. Okay. That's really good. Stacks twice. So you're looking at 20% speed of rage gained and 20% attack. Duration resets whenever it gains another stack. And this does not clear when exiting combat. Wow. Okay. All right. From here, the expertise is enhancing that skill that lets you reactivate Pelean Spear. So now it's still 5% less damage taken, but all skill, combo, and counterattack damage is reduced now by 15%, and it's only 2,500 factor to get that skill activation all over again. Wow. I mean, you know, look, this commander looks outstanding. I think that there's a slam dunk pairing here if you're only using one cavalry march, that like you could just use Arthur as the primary. That makes him a combo commander. And then you use this guy as the secondary. And like, boom. You got a combo march that is going to absolutely pop off, right? If you're running 2 combo marches, now you've got a lot of options for who your secondaries are. You know, Arthur becomes a primary, and you've got Achilles as a primary. And then like, who are your secondaries? Well, like Arthur William still probably kind of slaps, right? That probably ends up still being good. You are enhancing normal damage here. Like, I don't know, I guess you could use Philip, but the craziest part is that we've got more cavalry like right around the corner, right? So as soon as new calves show up, this is just going to pop off in the craziest way. And then they also revealed the kit for Hector. So Hector's your leadership support commander, and this is a lot to take in because he does different stuff depending on how you pair him. So he's got a rage requirement of 1,000, but the active skill does something different depending on the talent trees of the primary commander. If it's an infantry talent tree, you deal smite damage to a target troop, 1 troop, 2,600 damage factor, and 5 nearby allied and friendly troops take less damage. That's pretty powerful. If you pair with cavalry, You launch 2 combo attacks against the target troop, damage factor 1,400. And for the next 3 seconds, up to 5 nearby enemy troops take 5% more normal damage. Remember when I said, wouldn't it be funny if they made it so you pair Achilles and Hector? Because here we are, and I think it works, right? Achilles primary, Hector secondary. Funny enough. I actually thought maybe they would design that out so you couldn't do that. But maybe that is possible. We got to read the rest of the kit. Now, otherwise, so if you pair with an archer or a leadership commander or integration or like whatever else, you deal direct damage factor to the target troop, 2,700. And for the next 3 seconds, up to 5 nearby enemy troops deal 5% less damage and lose 15 rage per second. For how many seconds? For 3 seconds. The rage debuff is pretty nice. So, gosh, I already want to start to think about pairings because, like, who you pair with changes what it's going to do. But let's keep going. I'll say this. There's no AoE damage listed here. So I'm already kind of like, we do have an AoE effect, but no AoE damage. It's like, I want that AoE damage. So what else we got? You get 20% march speed, 10% health, and 30% defense. Yeah, 20% march speed and 40% of stats generally checks out for a second skill. Favored of Apollo, third skill. Take 10% less normal damage. Okay. When attacking a troop on the map, one of the following effects will trigger based on the primary commander. Oh boy, here we go. So if it's infantry, whenever you deal smite damage, there's a 50% chance that the damage will be increased by 15%, and that can trigger 3 times per second. So you have major smite damage enhancement, or if you pair with cavalry, whenever their troop launches a basic attack, it has a 20% chance to launch an extra combo attack with a damage factor of 400. Wow. Can trigger up to 3 times per second. Cooldown of 10 seconds. Okay. Okay. So you could get this to trigger a lot with butterfly effect that could really pop off, but then it's going to be on cooldown for 10 seconds. Got it. Otherwise, whenever the troop inflicts a debuff on an enemy, you take 5% less damage for the next 10 seconds. And that stacks twice. That just feels so unexciting compared to the other two. Like, it feels like you're meant to use him with infantry or cavalry because this effect just feels very weak to me. Just that it takes the less damage. Call me crazy. It feels kind of weak. But let's go on. Valiant Mortal. If this commander's troop is attacking another troop on the map, if they're if the primary commander has infantry or cavalry, every second their troop has a 50% chance to gain a 20% boost to normal damage for 5 seconds with a cooldown of 7. So you're enhancing your normal damage dealt in a major way. Otherwise, the troop has a 50% chance to gain a 30% bonus to skill damage for the next 5 seconds. So this is really interesting when we think about like Ragnar Prime, but like a leadership primary, or like, I don't know. We're gonna have to figure this one out. Also has a cooldown of 7 seconds. So, but it is a skill damage boost for 5 seconds. The weirdness is like, this could totally misalign with your active skills. It feels like it's very weak compared to the infantry specific and the cavalry specific bonuses. And then the expertise. If this commander's troop contains only 1 unit type, it deals 10% more damage. I mean, that just seems amazing, 10% damage. If their troop contains 2 unit types, so you're going for a mixed march, it takes 10% less smite damage, combo damage, and skill damage. So you get tanky if you go mixed. Wow. What do you do with this commander? I feel like he's pitched as the most versatile secondary commander with the cow shield, but what do you do with him? The single target damage is like, the infantry pairing is interesting because you're buffing your nearby friendly troops, but like that doesn't have any synergy with Philip, and a lot of people are running Philip, and that's going to be a bigger buff. So that like actually doesn't do anything in a lot of cases. So that doesn't make sense. Making enemy troops take more normal damage seems better from the Cav pairing. I feel like the Cav pairing is the best. You're just supposed to pair it with Achilles. You should pair with Achilles and call it a day. Unironically, I think that might just be it. Right? Is there anything in this kit from Achilles that was like, definitely don't pair this way? I don't think so. I mean, you get Pelean Spear, Rage gained. I don't see why not. What am I missing here? Okay, well, let's jump in game, look at some of the commanders, spitball on some of the pairings, and figure this out. All right, so when we talk about some of the best pairings in the game, I do think it's interesting to think about what about Ragnar for the leadership Hector pairing? Because like Skippy is old, and we've been wondering for a while, like, how long is Skippy Prime gonna be kind of what we're doing? And Skippy Prime is doing a lot for us. It's like easy to overlook that he's got instant proc damage, damage mitigation, AoE damage, reduce the health of the enemy, AoE shielding. He's doing stuff, right? So does Hector work better? I mean, you do get the AoE debuff. You'd have to use Hector as the primary in leadership mode. Otherwise, you're doing smite damage. Ay, who's doing that? Just me and the weirdos who made leadership gear. Yeah, I guess that could be a thing. Is like the new, I guess it would have to be a leadership march, and Ragnar would be the secondary, because you don't want the smite damage mode, obviously. You want the skill damage enhancement. And you just go for like huge skill damage enhancement, which I think could work. Because he just does so much skill damage. Like, what was it, a 30% boost from Hector? That's like Esong levels of boost. It's just inconsistent. I could see that being a thing, but I don't know. If you wanted to run a smite pairing, we are still talking about single target damage on the Hector. Like, single target damage is not all that exciting. I mean, I use William Wallace. Like, I don't know. You could use Liu Che and Hector secondary. I think that could be interesting. But I am kind of struggling what to do with Hector, other than just use Arthur with William and then Achilles and Hector together until we get new calves. Hector is the one that I'm the least confident in terms of how good he'll be. I do think he'll be good, but anytime you see single target damage, you got to be kind of suspicious of that. And so I'm very, very suspicious of that. I don't think we're benching Philip anytime soon as a result of these new commanders. No way. I do think that skill damage might be on its way out. I would be very comfortable benching Huo, but if you didn't want to bench Huo, then what you would do is Huo with Arthur, and then you could do Achilles with William or Achilles with Hector in the interim. And I feel like that might be pretty decent, but I feel like call me crazy, but I feel like my Huo Arthur was not very good. I feel like cavalry in general kind of struggled for the last 6 to 9 months for me. So maybe just the last 6 months, maybe even just since the release of QSH, that's been true. I could be wrong there, but I would be probably looking to get out of skill damage cav pretty quickly. So this is going to cost me a pretty penny to move all these over to something else, but you know, it is what it is. Okay. Wow. What else could we be doing here? I'm trying to think, like, is there an archer situation that we should be looking at? I mean, the 30% boost to skill damage is really good, but I don't think I'm breaking up QSH with Esong for archers. Like, I don't think I'm going to try to put Hector there. That's too good. And I don't think I'm trying to break up Zhuge with Herman Prime, because I feel like that's too good, isn't it? So I don't think we're trying to split up the archers. I mean, really, you can tell the head scratcher for me is what do we do with Hector if not to pair with Achilles, which I think will only be short-lived until we get new calves that show up. In which case, things are going to get really spicy. Probably William gets benched at that point for sure, right? And maybe we should be talking about the William benching sooner. And then, do I think there's a double leadership situation where you pair Philip with Hector? I'm not so sure about that. No, I would say no. Because Hector's enhancing skill damage and you're not getting that much of it with Philip. I don't know. I'm shooting from the hip and this video is a little later than I would have liked, in part because I had the good fortune of having the opportunity to cast on the official Rise of Kingdoms channel for the finals of the Grand Prix, which is pretty hype. I'm very eager for your thoughts down below in the comments. How are you going to pair these guys? What are you going to do with them? I think that, gosh, leadership gear Ragnar, is that? I mean, then you got to find a place for Philip depending. I don't know. I don't know. Your thoughts down below in the comments, my friends. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.